everybody. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Lens. I'm your host, Carl Hansen. I'm also the team leader of Cultural Detritus, and I produced and directed our competition entry into this year's Disability Film Challenge, which is called Eddie Rollie. And without further ado, I'm going to start adding our participants here. First and foremost, we're going to bring in our actors. We got Scott Rosendahl, who played Eddie and Rollie. We're going to bring in Nicole Cyril, who played our therapist. We're going to bring in Henry, our puppeteer, also my son, very, very proud. And our executive producer and my own mother, Terry Hansen. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. So, welcome to the live stream. We do this every year to introduce the film to the mass audience and get people to kind of watch it. I'm just going to change the background. It's a little distracting with the behind the lens there. But I'm so happy to have you guys all here to talk about the film that we made just last weekend, right? I mean, this is the film competition. The Easterseals Disability Film Challenge is a filmmaking competition where you have 5 days to conceive, write, shoot, edit, score, music, all of it in that time period from conception to completion. And I think we turned out a pretty good project here. Scott, you might be having some technical difficulties for whatever reason your video popped out, but hopefully Scott will be back here in a second. So first and foremost, I wanted to, I think Scott might be back. There he is. First and foremost, I wanted to talk to Henry.
Sorry, I'm having connection issues.
All good. This is the nature of live streaming, with live TV, though it's not technically live. And then Ken, I see that you're here. I don't know if I sent you an email with the link to actually join the stage so you can be a part of the conversation. So Ken, if you can hear me, please join the link that I emailed you. I just re-emailed it to you, and you should be able to join from your phone or computer. But Henry, this was your first time really being a part of the crew for a film like this. What was the experience like for you?
Well, it was a little nerve-wracking with all these cool people, these peers around. So I was very nervous, especially doing this late. But you guys guided me through it all, and that was really nice to have some guidance through my first experience. And yeah, it was really fun to be with the people around.
Really the benefit of you being able to do that was you were small enough to be able to be off camera and off screen and still be able to do it, because everybody kind of filled multiple roles. Obviously, actor-wise, the actors couldn't do much off screen as well, but you were able to hold the slate, one to be an extra, and then in other scenes be able to operate the chair.
I definitely had a couple roles. I think the hardest one was definitely being the puppeteer of the chair, because there was this all the scenes were slightly uncomfortable, of course, because my back was I was positioned crazily. So they were definitely decently uncomfortable. But the hospital scene, there was the table with the flowers, and I literally got handed pillows, so it wouldn't hurt as much. It was so funny, but I loved how I could add my own emotion to Rollie, because even after getting the script, I did a little motions ooh, ooh, just to add to Rollie's character, and those moments were also added on screen, so I was really happy about that.
Absolutely. And I'm trying to bring up the photos. There's a photo of you kind of in that hospital room that I'm gonna pull up here in a second once I get it there. But while we have Nicole and my mom as well, I know my mom will need to leave fairly soon. Why don't you guys start and quickly introduce yourselves and say what you did on the film and what the experience was like for you? Nicole, why don't you start? Or okay, my mom. Why don't my mom start?
Well, mine's pretty brief. I wrote a check and supported my dear son. That's my
which I greatly appreciate. Thank you. It's because of you we were able to get that amazing location, which is a place called it's called Drama Queen Studios. in Sylmar, and they have a bunch of different standing sets. And so they happen to be available. I've tried to get that kind of location in the past, and it has not been available, but it just so happened to be available this time.
And I'm
Nicole?
sorry that I look like I'm not watching, that I'm looking off to the side, because the camera is on my laptop, but I'm looking at you on my screen.
Your big monitor there.
That you put on, so I look like I'm kind of avoiding any eye contact, but that's not the point. It's
good. All good.
Technical thing.
We now understand. So thank you. But Nicole, why don't you just do a quick intro of yourself, and then we'll bring in Izzy, G, and Ken, who are in the waiting room right now.
I'm Nicole Cyril. I played the therapist, or both of the therapists, and that makes sense when you watch this film if you haven't yet. And also just want to give a quick shout out to the most amazing puppeteer. And I'm not trying to be funny. I was so impressed. I was so impressed with the way the chair actually worked with the dialogue. I mean, it was not just like somebody's there making movement. There was work in that. It wasn't just somebody jiggling it. So I was really impressed with you, Henry. And I just want to
thank you so much, Nicole. I really enjoyed your work as well. You did such a great job.
Well, thank you, love.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, guys. That was bad feedback. I'm trying to bring up the photos, and I have them on my thing. But here, I'm going to bring in Ken and Izzy. So Ken played the psychic. There she is. Hi, Ken. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, your mom.
There's my mom
Nicole.
and Nicole and Henry. And then we're bringing in Izzy, who is our composer. Izzy, can you hear us? I think you're muted.
I can, yeah.
All right, perfect. And then we're just waiting on Scott to rejoin. He's having some technical difficulties. But Izzy, why don't you quickly introduce yourself and what you did on the film?
Well, I'm the film composer. Carl has generously allowed me to do another one this year. So thank you.
We generously agreed to do it again. So it's not just on me. So, yeah, go ahead.
But I am, for those of you who don't know me, I am legally blind. But I composed for the film.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that process was like. I know for those of you who know cultural detritus films over the last few years, Izzy has done a number of them. And I just want to introduce everybody to that process. Oh, and Scott has rejoined. We're going to add him to the stage. Scott, while we have you, and then we'll get to you, Ken, to introduce you. But Scott, why don't you just quickly introduce yourself and what you did on the film?
Okay. Hello, I'm Scott Rosendahl. I played Eddie and the voice of Rollie. Was also a co-writer with Carl on this project. I was going to say, when I first met Carl, it was at the awards ceremony for Easterseals Disability Film Challenge in 2018, where he narrowly edged me out with his film Checkmate. And I figured at that point, well, I guess if I can't beat him, I should join him, right? And now in this project, we literally get to beat each other. So there's that.
That's true. On camera, I want to make sure that's clear to everybody. When you watch the film, that makes a lot more sense. So it was definitely
spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. And I play the ableist. I really wish I had changed my character name to Abel, but that's for future editions. All right, and Ken, why don't you quickly introduce yourself and how you got involved in this project?
This is my second time you call me, right? The first year, last year was the first time. This is second year, and this year you adding up my painting skill. You asked
That's
me
right.
to paint the Scott painting, so I did roughly. So I'm interested in it because I want to be in the film industry as well, besides being painter. So you give me opportunity second time.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you were able to do it. And I have to say,
Thank you.
Ken is a beautiful painter, and
Thank you.
She posts her paintings. And what's your Instagram name, Ken?
My name Kenty by _.
Kinpei. I'll put that in the comments so everybody will see it in a second.
Kinpei, my full name _. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but I highly recommend following her. But you see her paintings, and then I called her and I said, hey, how fast could you do a painting? And she was able to do this painting of the wheelchair of Rollie, which I'll also pull up here in a second once I figure out how to get the photographs out. But yeah, so I mean, really, this project came together very, very quickly. I know that's probably normal for most everybody on my team, where they get a call like a week or two before and saying, "Hey, I'm about to embark, and I've decided to do it." But I had initially decided not to do one this year because I had been focusing on some other projects that I was working on, and Scott reached out to me and said, hey, I'd be willing to come in to do this again if you were going to do it. I'm like, I don't know. I hemmed and hawed. And I was at South by Southwest a few weeks ago, and I had a dream. I fell asleep, had a dream that night where I was making a disability film challenge film, and I woke up and I hadn't finished the film in my dream, and I was really disappointed. And I wanted to, and I think Scott, I called you that day and I said, I had a dream last night. I was really disappointed I didn't get to do it. And then I looked back and as a team had made 39 of these time challenge short films. And I'm like, well, 40 sounds like a nice round number. Wouldn't it be nice to do that? And so Scott generously, agreed to do it with only a few weeks notice, and having recently moved out of Los Angeles, was able to come in very quickly to do that. What was that experience like for you, Scott, getting that call that day?
Well, there was some trepidation in being able to schedule a flight out of town on relatively short notice. So, of course, I had to scour all the websites to find the best deal on a nonstop flight, because, traveling by air, it's not always the easiest thing to do when you have a wheelchair with you. So, which we also touch on in this project. So be on the lookout for that exchange.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I wanted to do it back in January when they announced the genre, but to get that call was like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this, right? So it's something I definitely look forward to, and I'm glad I made the choice to participate.
And also as a producer and writer as well. I mean, to specifically.
Oh, producer? I didn't know that I was a producer on this.
Oh, well, you produced writing. Sorry, we didn't. We never. No, but as a writer, you specifically wanted to be involved in the writing process, right? And talk about,
we've collaborated on at least one feature screenplay, right? We're still in the early stages of pre-production on that, but you and I had worked together for just years now, writing together. So I knew that we'd be a good match when it came to melding our minds and coming up with something that, in my hopes and dreams, this was going to be something that was different, and I think it stands out as something unique that we haven't really seen at any other point in this film challenge. All of American cinema, aside, this is something where I think we've achieved something that is rare, I guess.
Yeah, and definitely unique, because I hadn't seen anything like this at all either. And so just the conceit of bringing the chair to life, I think, was really, really interesting, and anthropomorphizing it. And we hit upon that idea fairly early in the process, because I know when we did the kickoff call, we were really leaning hard into that being the idea. And the kickoff call we did was on Wednesday as a team, where we just kind of talk about different ideas and how we're actually gonna, proceed with it, knowing full well that we're never fully committed until we're actually in it and doing it. In filmmaking, there's always the film that you conceive of and write, the film that you actually shoot, and then the film that you edit, which is the one that everybody always sees. But we were pretty hard into that concept that Wednesday night.
Well, we had. I mean, I'm not going to say they're constraints, but we have. We had what you had reserved for the studio, so we had those that space to work with and to, write around, essentially.
Right. Yeah, and rights to specific locations that we had, which also makes it a much easier process in the grand scheme, because it gives you some guardrails. At least that's what I always feel when we do these projects. Now, everybody even in Henry, you've been around some of these films before. But Nicole, this was your first time being a part of the Cultural Detritus team, and so you kind of got to experience it. You're maybe the freshest of the bunch. I'm kind of interested in hearing what your experience was like from, when I initially reached out to you, kind of all the way through that process. And what was that like for you?
I don't remember when we first met, but I just know, we've met a few times before we really connected. And then I consider you a friend, and I think so incredibly highly of you that I remember telling you, if you ever asked me, I'd never say no. And then you called me. I'm like, well, I'm not going to say no, like, ever. So I was excited because I've had a lot to do with the Easterseals, but not actually being in them. I've helped to announce nominees, and through my work at the union with what I do for disability and my disability advocacy, I'm always involved. So this was my first time, and I was so excited to do it, and to do it with somebody that I think so highly of, which is you. So it was a lot of fun. And again, I go back to, man, I did not see Henry's puppeteering skills coming. They just floored me. So it was from Wednesday night when we had that call, everybody was so lovely and wonderful. Really just excited to work with a good group of people. When people ask actors, what's the dream role? I'm always looking at them like, that's not a thing. It's not the dream role. It's the dream circumstance. And for me, the circumstance is working with really great, talented, wonderful, spirited people that you just want to hang out with. So to say that the end of my experience was, oh, it's over, I gotta go now? Okay. So it was lovely, and I really enjoyed all of you. And, I hope to get a hat one day.
That's on number two. Yeah. Well, and you were referencing Henry's puppeteering again, and I did promise him he was not going to have to stay on for this entire live stream, which you are welcome to, Henry. I'm just saying I want to fulfill that promise to you. But I do want to mention to you, because you were not anticipating being the puppeteer that day. That was not something we even discussed.
No, you just called me in the bartending area, and you're like, Henry, we have a job for you. So you told me to lay down, and like every time I talked, you just wanted me to shake the chair, and I was like, oh, okay. And that continued to, I don't know if that was an idea that you already had at the beginning while script writing, or you just came up with it. But yeah, I actually did. Other than being uncomfortable, like laying on the floor and trying to position my legs so I, first of all, wasn't seen by the camera, and second of all, wasn't uncomfortable, it was still really fun, and I did have a lot of good improv moments, and I did really like puppeteering Rollie, so I'm really glad that you guys added that role to me. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed, Henry, to me that you had you spoke as the chair appropriately for the dialogue. And so you weren't just wiggling blah, 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 the whole time. I mean, it was so realistic that when Scott said something, the response was spoken like a real talking wheelchair.
Yeah, like the intensity of how much I shook it. It's crazy how much you can show. Like I actually just went to watch Hail Mary with my dad and my mom, of course. That the connection we had with a character named Rocky, which was basically an alien, but it was also kind of displayed as an inanimate object, kind of like a rock. The way it displayed so much emotion just through like moving, like. I applied similar traits just to Rollie, and I already felt like, as much as just shaking a wheelchair, it showed so much emotion, and difference in intensity showed different traits in the film. So yeah.
I could see it, absolutely.
100%. You really gave the chair a personality, right? But also, further to that point, not only was your puppeteering amazing when it came to that, but Scott's voicing of it, which was all done in post-production, because Scott couldn't do both voices right at the same time. I was the one kind of reading it off camera. Henry was mimicking my voice essentially of what the words were. But then, Scott, in terms of working kind of with yourself, right? You were acting opposite yourself. What was that process like for you?
Well, I've done voiceover work in the past. So, I mean, we're doing this, without the guided, the ball bouncing or whatever you'd see in karaoke. We're doing without the guidance of that. So I have to work within what I'm seeing on the frame that Henry did, and then trying to sync it
so
up.
So it really was the other way around.
Yeah, which can be a challenge, but if you're experienced in the voiceover world, it's not too difficult.
Yeah, and also having to do it in piecemeal bits, right? Because you're sitting with Andrew, our editor, who unfortunately, Andrew Kadickian, he couldn't join us today, but really kind of put it all together at the end. He's the one that comes in at the last part of the film and really puts it all together to make it that way. So I finally figured out how to get I'm just getting the photos onto my computer because I wasn't able to share them from my phone for whatever reason through this platform. But I'll be able to show some of those scenes as well, some of those behind the scenes of what that process was like for everybody. Now, Izzy, I want to talk about that process for you because actually this is the first time I think you've had more than just a couple of hours to do this. And I would love to hear what your thought process was and, what it was like for you coming into this project. I know you said it was a little difficult at the outset just because we didn't have that initial kickoff conversation. But what was that process like for you this time now that you had a few more hours versus, the regular challenge days?
Well, just more at peace, really. Not as rushed. That's just the nature of these things, though. I've always said it. I'm kind of glad that I started scoring this way. That way, I'm used to working under pressure, and when we come up to films like this, it's not. I know what the deal is, and I can just like step back and introduce like a sketch to them and be like, hey guys, this is what I came up with. Let me know if you guys need any tweaks, and we can go back and forth a little bit more. So it's more polished, more words.
Well, when I'm taking what you're offering, it's sort of like, great, we don't have time to do anything different.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this time we got to do rounds of notes and some versions and got to play around a little bit and even talk through it, right? We were able to get on the phone and talk through some of those music cues, which we don't always get a chance to do during the 48s or some of the other film challenges that we've done. Because typically we've shot on Saturday, which again makes everything kind of backed up post-wise, just kind of the nature of it based on people's work schedules and things throughout the week. But this time around, we were actually able to shoot on Friday to give us a little bit more time. And here, actually, I just see that Will, our DP, has been able to join. I'm going to add him to the stage.
Good.
Hey, Will, how are you?
Hi, everybody. Good to see everyone here. This is pretty great. I carved out a couple of minutes, but I wanted to say hi to everybody because I saw you were doing this.
Yeah, no, so glad you're able to join. And obviously for anybody here, if you guys do need to go at any point, please, feel free to jump off. I appreciate you being a part of this. And I'm just so grateful because as a team, these films don't come together magically with just like one person, right? It's not like, oh, it just happens. It needs the collaboration. It needs everybody's participation. And Will, you're a gigantic part of that because on the day of the shoot, you show up in your vehicle packed to the gills.
That's right.
Every piece of equipment known to man that we can utilize, and then make it look really stunning, right? You would never be able to tell based on the setup that it was all packed into your one vehicle there.
Yeah, everything fit into my Honda. I mean, it's kind of a big Honda. I mean, it's an Element, so it's a big bread box. that's wide open to store stuff. But yeah, I mean, luckily for us, the productions aren't super huge. We really can't be super huge because we don't have the time to do elaborate setups, and we typically don't have a huge crew. A lot of times for these challenges, we have a volunteer crew. It's a lot of students. It's a lot of we have lots of great people that volunteer, so they're able to get some great experience. I hope. And I mean, we had Henry slating, which was an incredible help, having a second AC that was there for every shot, and puppeteering, of course, the other actor that I don't see on here, the actor that's invisible. Where's Rollie?
Rollie's, yeah.
I don't see Rollie on the call, but
Rollie's been subjugated to the corner.
He's being searched by the TSA.
Yeah, he's in his 30th swipe.
Yes, he still has to serve his time
with a broken wheel. Yeah.
Oh boy! Spoilers.
But it's always a really great collaborative experience, Carl. It's always great working with you and with the whole team. I mean, we have such good collaboration.
Yeah. And like Will's saying, like everybody on the team's a volunteer. Everybody you see here volunteered and it came of their own personal time to be a part of this experience. I'm incredibly grateful to you guys for doing that. It's really, making something is challenging in and of itself, but then bringing a team together and bringing real professionals together, because all of you do this work outside of this film challenge, right? So I'm greatly aware and so appreciative of your guys' time and energy that you put to this project. Because also, I'm super happy with the way it turned out, right?
Yeah.
Same here.
We don't know. We're hoping it's going to be good when we start. And I always tell younger filmmakers, especially doing these film challenges, worry less about it being good, because if you kind of attach yourself to an outcome, you kind of get locked into certain things, but just worry about making it good. And if you can do that throughout that process, and it starts with the writing, it starts in the idea phase, but then also when you're on set, where it's like, hey, let's try something. Let's do something a little bit different that maybe wasn't written over the last 24, 48 hours, that ends up becoming a big part of the thing. Like Henry's puppeteering work, again, we weren't going to have the chair move at all. Scott and I talked about, we're just going to show it, and it's just going to sit there. And I think, Will, we were in that bar scene and you're like, can you make it move a little bit? And I was like,
just something, anything.
Yeah, I was like bending down. And I'm like, oh, my back, I can't do it. And I saw Henry across there. I was like, Henry, come over here and move the chair. And it was within a matter of moments.
A whole different dynamic to the story. I mean, now all of a sudden this character's doing stuff, and I think it's great. Yeah. And for all these projects too, another thing about the creative part of it that's really interesting is, I mean, we all walked onto that set never having seen it before. So it's such a challenge to just walk in cold that day and say, okay, here are all the scenes, here are all the pages, this is where we're going to shoot them all, this is all happening right now, and you don't have time to think about it. The lights have to go up, and the sound has to go up, and cameras need to go up, and then we need to start shooting because we only have a very limited amount of time.
Yeah,
that makes these very unique. Normally in my professional world, I get 2 months of prep, and for this we had like 10 minutes maybe.
I have to say, I really loved you and Scoop setting up 2 cameras and shooting Scott and I at the same time, and Rollie when he was in the shot, at the same time, so we could almost be theatrical in the way of like we're shooting a full scene. It's not, sometimes when you're doing a film, it's a line or it's another line, or it's I'm there for his coverage, he's maybe there for my, you'd be there, I'm sure, for my coverage, but we're not in it together. And you guys just set up to expedite time, but also as actors allow us to be fully involved in that scene and not have to redo everything and try and match. We were able to just really go with it and be present. So I love that you shot it that way.
I'm so glad. Yeah, it was great to have Scoop there. He's not on the call. Scoop was our camera operator, lighting guy. He did sound a little bit too. And it was great. But yeah, I love doing that cross coverage on cameras, because then both actors get to perform off each other And it's way probably better than acting against a tennis ball. Sometimes we set up a tennis ball on a stand and the actor has to talk to that. So cross covering those cameras. Plus, it saved us a ton of time. You're right, Nicole. It saved us a lot of time. So
yeah, that's the benefit of two cameras, right? I mean, we've done plenty of these where it's single camera, and it is what it is, right? You kind of work with what you got and make it the best. But in this instance, having you guys be able to play off of each other, Nicole and Scott, like that chemistry was there. It felt really natural, and it gave you guys that ability, to work with each other that way. Often with comedy too, this was dramedy. Obviously, we were leaning a little bit more into the comedy aspect of it. Though the therapist scene, I keep saying, like, really brought groundedness. Nicole, your performance brought it. It's just kind of a much grounded place. Izzy, your music really made it a much grounded story, that it's not you're just laughing at the chair. They're now talking about real concerns and real issues that, Scott, I don't know if you want to talk, you touched upon a little bit, traveling as being a bit of a difficult experience when you're
it's a reality for, wheelchair users who want to fly. You have to basically agree to what I would call manufactured consent by the government to get up in your business, all your crevasses, if you will. But they're not providing that many alternatives, right? And for people I've known who, as a consequence of traveling by air and trying to actually advocate for equity in travel, air travel, have literally died from infections that formed because their wheelchairs were damaged and destroyed, and they had to find some, base level chair that the airline provided for them. And, several weeks later died from infections. Yet people every day, there's, what is it, 10,000 incidents of wheelchairs being damaged per year. Right. So, I mean, it's a problem. We've been over it for a long time. I guess, some people feel powerless because there's not any change being made, or doesn't feel like it. There are anyway. I've had some damage done. It's been minor to my chair, so it was a situation where, okay, if I want to spend the next, hour or two trying to deal with, filing a report and seeing what they do about it. And it's just, okay, well, at some point you're like, okay, well, this is only, this might be like a $50 job or something. Do I really want to go through the process of being reimbursed for damages that they did,
Scott, I get the wheelchair at the airport and then I use my cane, but correct me if I'm wrong. They did just make a change. They made it so that the airlines are less liable for the damage they do to the chair.
Yeah, change in the wrong direction.
We're living in right now. The change went in the exact wrong direction.
Right.
And that's what we're dealing with. So I love that that's touched on in the film, because it literally got touched on by what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah, and that became important to us to talk about some of those things. In the writing process, we definitely talked about it. Obviously, Scott had just gone through some of that experience himself. And in fact, when you're saying you had some damage to your chair, Scott, you're talking specifically the chair that we featured. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. And in fact, it was one of Rollie's arms, if you will, or hands, that was broken.
Yep.
Right. So it doesn't stay up. It doesn't stay up all the way. Do you have to go, Mama?
I'm sorry. I do have to leave at this point. So
all good.
Best of luck to you. I'll be rooting for you
I think I'll leave along with Grandma
over here in
too.
Boston.
All right. And Henry's going to go.
Guys.
Guys, thank you so much for joining.
Bye, guys.
Talk to you guys soon.
Henry,
Henry, just upstairs. I'll talk to you after that. All right, so we'll do that, and there we go. All right. So Scott, the arm doesn't stay up anymore. The handle, right? That's
correct, and I just haven't gotten around to fixing it. I'm not much of a handyman, so.
Well, it shouldn't have been damaged in the first place, right?
True.
I mean, that's the fact of the matter.
I don't know why they can't just design some like container, I mean, I guess because it's not always used and they have to maximize the space, like you'd think that there'd be some sort of secured system that they could set up in the cargo bay and, problem solved. But I guess that's too simple for them. I don't know.
Or we were coming up with different ideas, like what could be done invention wise. So any engineers out there, anyone who wants to challenge, try and come up with a better way to do it, like a vacuum sealed bubble wrapped thing or something. I don't know, like something that can at least help.
Well, I guess the question is, cost versus reward for them, right? Profit. If it's cutting into profit somehow, like, is it actually going to save them costs in the long run by designing these things that take up space that could be used, otherwise when someone in a wheelchair is not traveling, I guess?
Well, now that they're not liable, it's not really a cost.
Right now, it's terrible. So got to change the laws too again, right? Get those protections back in place and maybe even make them stronger. Now, something I do want to point out, this is the Disability Film Challenge. The requirement is to utilize at least one person with a disability, either in front of or behind the camera. But our entire cast, except for me, the able-bodied guy, who's a real jerk, right, has disabilities, right? And so it isn't just a wheelchair traveling like that is a concern. It's also systemic barriers. And, Nicole, we were talking a little bit about statistics. You probably know better than I at this point what the current statistics are. Can you talk a little bit about maybe employment and what that means?
Well, I won't say I know better than you, but I will say that the numbers, everybody quotes numbers and they come from different places and they're a little rough because not everybody is open about their disability and not every count is accurate, but the general overall consensus is that scripted characters with disabilities are approximately 3% of what we see on screen. Of that 3%, 80% are played by non-disabled actors. So it is excruciatingly overwhelming to the depth that our community is not on screen. And when you consider that over 1 in 4 people in this country have a disability, over 1 in 9 people have a mobility disability, it's horrific because it's our industry. Look, I'm going to go nerd on you forever. Star Trek. A lot of us know and love Star Trek. It literally was about racism. And it was teaching people what to look at other people that didn't look like them as equals and find that space and that humanity. That's part of our job as performers and entertainers. And when we don't include this community, people don't know how to interact with us. I mean, oh my God, the amount of times people walk up to me and go, "What'd you do?" What? Or my other favorite, "You're too pretty to be disabled." What is that supposed to mean? These stupid comments, because we're not showing us and we're not showing how to interact with us. And to the extent, like, just take it back to the wheelchair and travel. If they saw that, if more people saw what that looks like and understood it, then I think our laws and our culture would shift better to more be inclusive. And the last thing I'll say is, we're the only marginalized community you can join. We hope you don't, but if you do, we welcome you with open arms. If we have arms, we welcome you with open hearts, right? And so when you realize that this is a community you might become part of, you all of a sudden then start to look out for this community a little more and want to break those barriers down a little more. And that's something we really have to focus on. And that's one of the reasons this challenge, this, EDFC works, because it helps to show people what we can do and what we can do on set and what we can do with story. So I could talk about that for hours, and I'll just stop for now and let you ask more questions of people.
Can I contribute something?
Yeah.
So in terms of like the statement that, we're making incremental progress with employment for actors with disabilities. I mean, technically, yes, because I'd say there was a study conducted, I want to say 2009. I could be off by a couple of years, but at least 15 years ago, there was another study conducted. And at that time, if I remember correctly, it was 2% of roles and 95% played by, I think something around that. Yeah. By able-bodied actors. So in 15 years, we've gone from 2% to 3% and 95% to, what did you say, 80?
80, which, I mean, that's a big jump. It's just still a pathetic number.
Right. So in order to get to parity based on this timeline, we're looking at sometime in the 22nd century where there's actual parity or equity in casting, right?
And when you look at it, just dive in more, closed captioning is on everything. There is no federal law for closed captioning, but it is on everything. It's not done well. They skip words, they misspell things, they skip paragraphs. But audio description for the blind and low vision, and actually they find out neurodivergent people use it, long haul truckers, people that are not disabled are using it as well. Audio description has an actual federal law, but it's still such a small number of projects have description on it, and ours does from the beginning, which I am so in love with. And then you add to that, a lot of companies do audio description that don't even know the standards and practices set forth by blind leaders. They just do it because in their mind, well, I can see, so I know what to tell them. Except if you're coming from your perspective, what you describe may not be what the blind person envisions in their head. So if you don't have a blind expert to talk with and say, well, wait, if I say this, what do you see in your head? And then we can work with the words, then you're not doing them justice either. So accessibility on all fronts, on all levels is so important because it changes the world. It changes the way people are included and the way we see each other.
Yeah, and Nicole, you're a professional audio describer. I mean, you've worked on Grey's Anatomy, and I mean, you do big projects as an actual audio describer. And that actually is a great segue into the process that I referenced a little bit before with Izzy. That when we started working together, so Izzy and I met on Clubhouse, the audio-only social app, years ago through COVID, and that experience. He played some of his music, and I was like, "Oh, Izzy, you're really good at coming up with music. Would you ever want to compose a film?" And Izzy, I remember you saying, "I didn't even know I could do that," because you hadn't thought that you could, because of, again, these barriers that kind of existed. But we had come up with the initial idea we came up with was a time code list, right? Your screen reader would read the time code list to match the picture cuts, and then would be able to compose to that on your system. But then one time the editor dropped out of the competition on that Sunday, and I had to jump in and start editing. And I'm like, Izzy, I don't have time to do this time code list. Why don't I try a live audio description? I'll just do the best I can to describe what's going on screen. You're like, well, let's try it. And then at the end of it, you're like, oh, that worked way better. Let's do it that way from now on. So can you kind of talk about what that experience is like for you, and maybe touch on actual audio description needs in mainstream entertainment as well?
Sure. I'll try.
From your perspective, this is all from you. I'm not asking you to speak.
Yeah.
Speak for every blind person everywhere, Izzy. Right now, it's all on you.
Wow, what a great weight on my shoulders there. So like Carl was saying, at first, like, it was this list of time codes, and it worked out okay. It was kind of slow, just because it's like you have to go back and, all right, well, this is to this, and this action starts here at 1 minute, and then it ends here at like 1 minute and 5 seconds. And so if you have a busy scene, it's up to you to kind of just put everything together. So person opens the door at a minute, and shuts the door at 1 minute 6 seconds, and then gets jumped on by people or something at 1 minute and 8 seconds or something. So it was kind of. Yeah, it was slow. It was kind of tedious, because it was like, all right, well, I have to then reference not only the text file, but then also the project, and all right, here to here, and it honestly was kind of difficult to do when there wasn't any sound, especially. I guess I'll give it an example. Tech support is an example, because it was very silent. There was some speech in it, but there was a part where the technician was putting on gloves and typing things in, but there wasn't any sound to it yet. So I didn't really have any. I was kind of like in the deep end, waiting around and treading water, and like, all right, well, this comes in this place, this comes in this place. So it's just trying to put everything together. But then I think it was Rick's Cafe, Carl.
So yeah, I think it was
the first time, and I was just like, yeah, now all of a sudden I don't have to reference a text file. I don't have to, keep track of the time in the project, like bar up at the top. Now I can just do what I need to do, and all of a sudden it's just now the picture talks to me. So as far as like standards and stuff go, yeah, Nicole, I definitely, oh man, there are like some independent companies that do these descriptions, and they're horrible. They're not working with the right audio, or they're doing it wrong. They're they lack description a lot of the time. So I remember watching True Blood in particular, and season 5, it was like all of a sudden it was some guy on his headset, and just giving very I don't know, the descriptions weren't good, and then they were badly placed because it's supposed to be in between dialogue. I understand there's like some scenes that are very busy, and you can't really squeeze that in, but these guys just did horrible. Like like you were saying, like, oh, I can tell them what's going on, but this isn't a family member you're narrating to, whispering in their ear, like, oh, this person reached out for this person, and now they're like glaring at them, or this is people who like just want to be on the same level of on the same playing field as everyone else when it comes to consuming entertainment.
Yeah, it's say what you see, not what you think from what you see. Let the blind person have the same moment to interpret what is on the screen as opposed to us interpreting for them. Just want to give you a quick clarification, Carl. When I'm on Grey's, I've been on Grey's Anatomy for 5 years. When I'm doing Grey's, I have a writer, and that writer is the audio describer. I'm just the voiceover artist. But when I'm live on things like the Grammys and the Emmys and the SAG, or the Actor Awards now we call them, when I'm live on those shows, because at that point I am live without a script there, I am the live audio describer on that job. The rest of the time I'm a VO artist who does audio description, who performs audio description. Just for technical terms, for those who might watch this and want to learn.
No, that's a really important distinction. Thank you for that. Because that's the other thing too. I mean, like when you get into the nuances, you get into those specific jobs. Again, I think there's a mindset of it just kind of is. It's all one thing, right? So I think that's really good to parse that out, because I actually didn't realize there was an actual writer doing those things. And I say, if you consider accessibility from the outset, right? You do it. What I like about the process that Izzy and I have, where I do at least that very preliminary audio description of what's happening, that could be used as a template for the post process afterwards too, right? So it's sort of like each step of the way you can use accessible tools. You can think about captioning, like Izzy was talking about tech support. That was an actual project that I wanted to play with on-screen captions that were more dynamic than just the words on the bottom of the screen, and that it would play a part of the story itself, right? So this, for me, it's a lot of experimentation and trying different things and figuring out kind of what works. That's how Izzy and I came up with that process that now works a lot better, right? And that only comes through that collaboration, through that experimentation, through those discussions, because maybe that first process of the time code worked, but it was clunky and it didn't really work great, and there were some problems with it. But we kind of had to go through that in order to figure out, oh, no, this is a much better way to do that. Because I think accessibility is often the afterthought. That's why that terrible audio description for True Blood exists, because it's not a part of the process that people are taking into account when they're actually making something. So, if you can think about it throughout the whole process, that becomes really important. To also reach a wider audience, right? Because also the business of disability, when you talk about who you're actually talking to and who you're trying to sell your product to, I don't know if anybody here knows what the statistics are in terms of disposable income, but I want to say is it in the trillions?
It's staggering, and I can't remember it right now, but I used to know it off the top of my head. But just numbers wise, you know, I said the 1 in 4, 1 in 9, 30 million plus blind and low vision people in this country. So even just thinking 30 million people, if they all had $1, what that would bring to your show, right? And just to back you up on the time code thing, you know, I'm not allowed to talk about it, but I'm doing a series. I'm doing audio description for a super huge series. There's a thing about it coming out this weekend on HBO. I'm not saying anything, but there's a thing, and I did the description on that. And that company that I did the description for, that I'm working with on it, they do the time codes. And the company that I typically work with that does Grey's Anatomy and that did this project, we don't do the time codes for the artist that's performing. We do a sound. So I'll hear a couple of words before I jump in. So that gives me a rhythm and the tone. And I'll have already watched the project. I watch every episode of Grey's before I record it. I'll have already watched it, but I'll have that tone. It'll be that vibe that I know I can come in the same vibe and keep the audience who's listening to description in the emotion of the movement of that. And so a time code just plugs you in that moment, and you don't have that connection to it. Whereas giving more, like you're talking about, giving that space and that feeling allows it to be a much richer experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And just quickly want to touch back on the caption front too. So I've talked to a number of people in the deaf community, and some deaf people don't even like captions because it's not their first language. Their first language is ASL. And so they would prefer ASL, they'd prefer signing. So you'll even see some shows and movies that have an ASL version where there's an interpreter in the bottom right corner of the screen who's actually signing during that, right? And we can talk also on set where that's been our primary mode of communication with our deaf actor friends who come in and need certain accommodations like that. Because again, like speaking, lip reading is not a skill that everybody has, even if someone is deaf, right? So it's again, kind of listening and talking to the people who wanted a certain way, who needed a certain way to come up with the best practices. So even on set, like during Rick's Cafe, which Izzy had mentioned before, Rick's Cafe, we had multiple deaf people on set. We had multiple interpreters on set. We had multiple interpreters in different places on set because depending on where the actor needed to look, we needed an interpreter in those spaces too. So it becomes just a part of the process that you when you talk to people, but that's true of any person you're hiring on any project ever. What do you need to do the best job, right? Will, the conversation I have with you, what do you need in order to do the best job? What equipment do you need? What service do you need? So it's sort of like, we need an elevator, we need this, all those things, all of those conversations, that's on the producer. And that's the producer's job to do that, to bring all those elements together and make sure that everyone has the tools that they need to be able to do the job, right? So, so now I did promise that I was going to show behind the scenes and some photos. I finally got it figured out through my system. I was just going to show them on my phone here, but I think I figured out how I can actually share some of this. So
oh my God.
Let me see if I can do that here. So here's one video.
Yeah, the chair's moving great.
You guys see this?
There's Henry.
Right, so there's Henry. You can see him on the bottom left there, like
moving great.
trying to figure out. And there's Will, and there's Scoop on the right, and Nicole on the spot. So that's one video. I do want to also hold on. How do I share another one here? Sorry, it's a little clunky with this system because I hadn't figured out how to do this. Let's see. Here's
All right, anytime.
Ready?
All right, cameras ready.
Oh, so this is an actual take
from the top.
You see yourself as a victim, but that doesn't give you the right to project your anger onto your partner and make them a victim too. It seems that your anger might be misplaced.
I think my anger is rightfully placed.
Not you, Rollie, Eddie.
Yeah, I can admit sometimes I take it out.
So that was how we were doing all those doing all those scenes with Henry kind of off camera there. And then I want to show. Hold on, I need to convert these images because for whatever reason the iPhone version doesn't show these photos.
Can you just take a minute and enjoy that Will is laughing at us? I really enjoy that. That makes me so happy.
It gives you confidence, right? It's like in the moment. It's always nice to
yeah.
have.
I mean, I thought the scene worked really, really well. I thought it was very quippy. It was very like, I'm smiling even off camera there. I'm smiling because it was funny.
Oh, and there's Henry holding the slate. This was his first time holding a slate and doing that. In fact, he wrote everything on here. And in the cafe scene, he does the slate, runs over, puts it next to him, and then it becomes part of the background, one of the background actors. Let's see what this photo is here.
There he is operating the chair again.
Yeah, he's operating the chairs down in between the hospital bed, in between the gear here. And there's Scott all bandaged up, thanks to Michelle Greasy, who is our amazing hair makeup artist.
And thanks to the guy who punched him in the face.
Well, that would be me, right?
Yes.
So we don't have a close-up of that. But what I do want to show everybody is this painting by.
There it is.
So Ken, I want you to talk a little bit about what this process was like for you, because I just said, hey, can you do I took a picture of Scott's chair while we were writing, and I said, can you paint this? And then you did. And you said it didn't take you very long, but this is a beautiful painting. This is a really beautiful painting. Can you talk about what this process was like for you a little bit? I don't know if you can hear us. Oh, you look like maybe you're frozen.
Nope.
Oh, there you are. You're there now. Ken, can you hear us? Can you hear us okay?
Well, if only she could sign.
Well, we don't have.
Actually, I think she's putting her mic on.
Her mic is on.
It is on. Ken, can you hear us? Well, just know Ken did that painting. So Ken is an artist. That is, she paints, and you can see some of her paintings even behind her screen here. But she did that painting very, very quickly, and so it's pretty remarkable that she was able to turn it around so quick. And then if you wait and watch the credits of the film, I encourage you to watch the credits of the film. And if you have not seen the film yet, what you should do is go to YouTube. You can go to YouTube and go to the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge page. You can see all the challenge films from this year. If you click on the video tab, you can see all the video challenge films. But if you search for Eddie and Rollie, and that's here, I'll put it in a banner here so you can see it. If you search for Eddie and Rollie, you will be able to see this film. But stay for the credits. Stay for the credits and watch all those scenes that play out, because then you'll see Ken's painting as one of those additional scenes, because we shot a bunch of different ones at the end of our day. We're rushing through, like going shooting sort of the buddy comedy aspect of it. But it's the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge.
How come I don't hear anything?
Oh, your volume might be down, Ken. Of course, I don't know if you can hear me say that, but your volume might be down.
There might be a glitch, Carl, because when we first started, I had to go out and come back in on a different browser, because before we started, we were all talking, and then when you started, I couldn't hear you at all, so I had to go out and come back.
Interesting. So I
don't hear anything.
I'm sorry, Ken. Maybe the volume. Turn up your volume. See if that works. Can you hear now?
I don't hear anything.
I'm sorry. Can you talk? Maybe hold on. You know what I could do? Talk about your painting. Let's see if this works.
Just talk. Don't wait to hear us. Just talk about your painting.
Yeah. If you can't hear us, I'm sorry, but I'll just show it again to show that
you can ask her the question in the chat, maybe.
Yeah, maybe if I change it to
Okay.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. Ken, talk about your painting. Let's see if that pops up. Having our own accessibility issues.
Technical difficulties.
I
Yeah.
don't hear anything.
No. Sorry, Ken. Try signing
I love
out.
her use of purple in the wheel because I'm a purple fan, in case you can't tell by the shirt. I'm trying to talk about the painting. I'm trying to help get the painting conversation.
Here, I'm
But
gonna
I just
text.
love the
Pretty
use of
cool. I think in an item like that, I mean, the perspective of everything is really complicated.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of moving parts in a wheelchair like that, and I think it's and even like the lighting and the shadow.
She did it in 2 hours.
Really?
She told me it took her a
Wow.
couple of hours. So
I also love the directional of the strokes. When you look in the footrest, it's almost like going horizontal, and then in the seat you've got that vertical, and in the back you've got the square. So it's definitely giving you the different contour kind of vibe of the chair. So it allows for feeling those different pieces.
yeah, and when we shot this as a photo while we were writing, we kind of played with that angle a little bit, because it was also the conceit was having the chair do a self-portrait. That was the idea, right? So what would the chair's portrait be of itself?
That's meta.
Yeah, it's very meta. And then there was a point where I was like, oh, maybe Eddie should do the painting. Again, these are all just ideas that we kind of come up with and try and figure out on the day. But it's always fun, right? It's always fun doing that. So hopefully Ken's able to join back in, although we're getting close to having to wrap up here. I'm just, and I think the platform's having some technical difficulties. I know some of you guys are having connection issues as it is, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody has any kind of last thoughts about, the experience for you. I do encourage everybody to please go and watch. Oh, wait, Ken's back.
Yeah.
You
I
can
couldn't
hear
hear
us?
anything.
Yay! Okay, awesome. So we were talking about the painting. I think you probably saw it. Here, I'll bring it back in again.
Okay.
But talk about what that experience was like for you, because I know I texted you a picture on Wednesday night, and I said,
No, you text me the night before, which was Thursday.
oh, Thursday. Well,
Yeah.
listen, that's all kind of runs together. So it was very last minute. But how long did it take you to do this painting? From
2 hours. 2 hours.
Only 2 hours. It's remarkable. I mean, it really
Thank
is
you.
beautiful work. So you are also an artist. That is traditionally what you do for your craft, not always acting. Even though you did act for this as the psychic, and you told me, that you appreciated being able to play that role, right? That you had never played a role like that before. But what was that like for you as an actor, right? Coming into that experience and just sitting down and having to do this with the crystal ball. The crystal ball is actually, I don't know if you guys can see it. This is the crystal ball that was on the screen. I know it's kind of small here, but I put it on my stand here. But did you enjoy that? Was it fun for you?
It was fun. It matched with me, the clothes I have. You told me, send me your printing clothes. And I Googled the psychic reader fashion, right? They have accessory, accessory makeup and accessories. So when you ask me my accessory, I bought it from Burma, jade and agate. And I show you, send you picture, you pick some of them. It really worked really well. And the makeup artist, I told her, you know what, my character gonna be like that. I really like Taylor Swift makeup. So she tried to, imitate it. And she said, if you want to wear the lipstick, what you have is fine. So it will work really well without having a lot of rehearsal with you guys, right?
Right.
Only rehearse is my dialogue and, the way I contact with the people. That's all, we had to do it. The rest of them are automatically really working really well. I was surprised.
Yeah, well, it kind of shows you sort of the technicality of acting, right? Sort of getting into
Yeah.
that experience and having to know that, because it's not just sit down and act, right? It's sort of
No.
like also make sure don't look at the camera. I was guilty of that too in those scenes, right? Because I'm not a non-professional actor myself.
I got you a couple of times.
yeah,
But although it was kind of funny though when you did it.
When then there was the intentional one where I specifically
Yes.
looked at the camera where we did the POV stuff. But yeah, it's not an easy craft, right? Acting is not an easy craft. And then to sit down in front of professionals, right? It's sort of like, okay, now do your lines, recite your lines when you'd only received a script the night before. Like, it's not like you'd had it for weeks and you could study. It's sort of like, you need to know it, you need to get into it and do it. And all of you guys, all of you, the actors here, you guys did a remarkable job being able
Thank
to
you.
turn those words around really, really quickly. And in a very kind of pressure environment where it's like, you know, we only have a certain amount of time. We have to make our day. We have to be out of the location at a certain time. We had a hard out. Like, we literally had to get out of that location by a certain time. So you can't tell any of that when you watch the film, right? You only know that in this behind the scenes because we're talking about it. But when you watch it, it should be an invisible process. You shouldn't know all of those things that went into that. And, you know, the shot selections and deciding on what lenses to use and when we do that, that's all part of this process that, again, like, kind of happens in real time. When,
For example, the that specialty shot of Ken with the ball, and you're like, hey, do you have any wide angle lenses? I'm like, I might have a 14 millimeter. I don't know. I looked and I had one, so we were able to get that cool specialty, like, close up wide angle shot of her doing the chant, you know, which causes Rollie to appear, I suppose. But that was totally, we hadn't talked about that. It just came up and we made it happen. And, you know, those things, that's what's great. You just roll with it and try to be as creative as you can with what you brought that day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever I had on the truck, that's what we shot with. And we just do your very best with that and try to get creative, you know, and B, in the art department, production designer, that was really great too. She was just pulling plants out of rooms and trying to make the sets look better. You know, the great coffee sign at the door, with our incredible cast sitting at the table drinking coffee. She just set that there, and it's like a great set piece. It says, "Oh, we're at the coffee shop now." Like, and that all happened because it happened to be hanging on the wall, like in the set somewhere. And she's like, it'd be cool if we put it here. And that happened like immediately. So
exactly.
it just came out of nowhere. And man, the second I turned the camera on, I'm like, oh, we're in a coffee shop. Oh, this looks like a coffee shop.
Well, and meanwhile, Henry and Ivan, you know, Ivan was a assistant camera
sitting at the table. Yeah.
Right. They just sat in. They were our crew. Emily, our PA, was sitting at the high top table
on the side. Yep.
And add the flavor of coffee shop. And then B, our production designer, played the barista, who I said, B, get behind there and just do something. And she went, okay, order for Carl. And that becomes like almost the very first thing
first thing.
Right. And again, that's the kind of and that I love that kind of environment, right? It's sort of like being able to kind of be free to come up with those kinds of ideas and make it better. Right. Again, each step of that way, you're kind of making it better and creating it. And even once we get into post and realizing, oh man, I wish we'd gotten a reaction shot of Henry and Ivan. Oh, we don't have it. We just have to work with what we have. Right. But it's like these ideas that you have that's like, oh, we played around with it to see if it would work, but they were out of focus. We didn't have it. If I had said, hey, we should cover it, we would have had it. But that thought didn't occur to me until after the fact. So you just work with what you have. And when you're creating these projects, and really that's true of any project, right? When you're on a professional set, yes, there's a lot more planning that goes into it. But if you have the freedom and flexibility to just come up with ideas and do things, magical things can come out of those experiences.
Right. And it's great not to have the constraints of like a feature film or a national spot for me. Because when I'm shooting those things, there's suits around the monitor. that are all like, there's a bondsman asking me how I'm going to make my day. There's, and for commercials, especially, the agency is there. The talent's agent is there. And they all have like control over it. But these things, which is why I love short films in general, is you have so much more freedom to make your own choices and to, express the way I don't know, the images for me that I want to make, without other people telling me, oh, there's a little thing on can you take that? And it's like, no, it's supposed to be there. Don't worry about it. And that's why I love these projects. That's why Carl and I how have we done? Like 8 of them or something? I don't even know.
A number. Yeah, no, I'll have to go back and look at my bingo card. I have a bingo card of people who have done all the films, and
I missed a couple, but I don't know. I think I've done a lot of them for sure. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure that. I think Scott and I, what was this, number 18 that we've done together? Right?
18.
So 18. And that's since 2018.
That's
right?
still not the max number though. Vaccaro's got me beat by another 8 films, I think. So
Vaccaro's been in, I did a percentage. He's been in like 79% of our films, but he also started with me as a founding member of Cultural Detritus back in 2005. But he was in the very
an extra 13 years to outdo me, I guess.
Right, and that was a 13-year swing of doing one a year. For a while, I was just doing one film a year, right? But once I found out about the Disability Film Challenge, I'm like, oh, I could do the 48-hour and the Disability Film Challenge, and I figured out how to make it work with my schedule. And then the 48s would start having a specialty competition. I'm like, why not make it 3 a year? Why not really torture myself? And not get any sleep.
Right.
But finding also that I found a real true love of the art form of a timed film challenge, right? I've made plenty of projects not in a weekend and not in 5 days, but it's because of these collaborations. It's because of everybody you see here on your screen, all of you guys, that makes it such a magical experience for me, because all of your inputs, all of your creativity, all the different ideas that kind of come to the table, that I know that I don't always have the best idea. I just kind of have to kind of corral it. I love directing. I love being able to be the corraller of those different things and seeing how it can get put together, and in a manner that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of myself. I find that really creatively satisfying. It gives me a lot of satisfaction doing that, and I love it. It is a passion of mine to do.
Can I turn the tables on you for a second?
Maybe.
Because this is for EDFC, and because of the way you just said what you said, I want to make sure people know the reality of you, because you are not a visible member of our community. And you just said, then you found this festival and you like doing the time things. You don't do this festival because it's another place for you to do a timed film thing. You have a deeper passion for advocacy. And I want to make sure that that's heard. I don't want anybody to hear this and think, oh, Carl did it because he found it's another place to, make a film on a time scale. I want people to know that you're actually a champion and an advocate and an ally, and that's part of this. So you please speak to that side of you.
Well, thank you for saying that, Nicole. Though the reality of the situation is, the way I found out about the Disability Film Challenge was I was on Film Freeway back in 2018. It was about a week and a half before the competition happened. And I saw it and I was like, well, I've made a bunch of 48s. This one sounds more important because of disability awareness, which I didn't have much insight into at that point. And when the first year we did it, like Scott said, we won. We won the entire film that year, or won the entire competition that year. And I was thrust into disability advocacy because I now had to go to film festivals and I get up in front of people representing the film itself, but also why this was important. When I learned the statistics and I learned how terrible the job statistics were, especially in film and TV representation, I was like, I can do something about that, right? And it only became clear to me multiple years later. I can't remember exactly when the realization, somebody said, well, why is disability advocacy important to you? And I would talk about the job statistics. And then suddenly I was like, wait a minute, my whole dad's side of my family was hard of hearing. I grew up in a household like that. Definitely people in my family were on the spectrum. And wait a minute, I've been surrounded by disability my whole life, but I just never keyed into it as that, right? It was just, that was the fabric of my life. And then once I did that and I realized that, I was like, oh, well, of course, that's why it's important to me, even though that wasn't necessarily on the nose what it was. But now I've found it incredibly important to talk about how bad those job statistics are, and to think about accessibility from the outset, and to talk to production designers and be like, hey, build your sets with accessibility in mind from the outset, so that, like in society, we have these systemic barriers, and they say, oh, it's too expensive to add a layer of accessibility on top of something that already exists. And I'm like, screw you, build it the right way from the beginning, right? And it helps everybody. It helps everybody. So, but thank you for bringing that up, Nicole, because it really was at first, well, this sounds like an important reason to still make another film, because again, that's my passion. That's what I want to make. But same with Scott, same with Izzy, same with you, Nicole, right? It's sort of like, you just want to do your passion. It doesn't matter anything else around that, right? And if something's preventing you from doing that, and it's a misplaced idea or something, if you can be a part of changing people's minds and also helping, yourself in the process, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to make my films, and I want to make awesome films. And I've found, incredible friendships just from this competition. That's how literally Scott and I met at that award show. And now, 18 films in, we're doing a feature film next, like it's added so much more to my life, and an incredible friend. You have become incredible friends just from a film competition, right? That was at least the beginning of it. So, or Clubhouse with Izzy, like whoever thought, just from like meeting on this audio only social app. It's amazing that thing went for, not that long a period for me. And I have incredible collaborators and friends that just came out of that app,
I think that might be where we originally stumbled on each other too.
It might have been.
That's where we stumbled. It's not where we met, but I think that's where we,
initially, got introduced. So, you never know where those connections are really going to come from. And Ken, we met through the Disability Film Challenge kickoff, like a few years ago.
2 years ago in Inglewood Open Studio.
Yeah, at Performing,
right? Around here.
So, so I'm incredibly grateful to this competition.
Thank you.
Totally changed my life. It literally changed my life and added so many amazing people to it that I would not have known. Otherwise necessarily. And by the way, I would just like to say for all of you, if you want people to follow you, Ken, I know you did mention your Instagram handle, Kin T Peng _.
Yes.
Right. That's your Instagram handle. If people want to follow you, Nicole, Scott, Izzy, Will, if you guys want to say your handles for people to follow you, if you're interested in that, please.
Mine's easy. It's Nicole Cyril. It's my name with a dot in between. That's it.
We are in Facebook too, Carl. We are in Facebook too.
And Facebook, yeah, Facebook too, for anybody on Facebook.
On Instagram, it's at Scott Rosendahl.
I already follow you, Scott.
Oh yeah.
I already follow Nico, Scott, Vocal.
Izzy, what's yours?
Mine's just Izzy G Music. Izzy G Music on Instagram, and then on
Izzy G
I
Music.
don't really post anymore on TikTok, but that's just Izzy G. And I also did want to add, my thoughts as well. As far as this, the films and the Easterseals and the 48s and stuff, I'm just amazed every year. How much talent, and the not really much amount of time to put everything together, and we just all the films that I've done, everybody just does an amazing job at putting things together, and it's thanks to you, Carl, that I can actually envision myself being successful at something that I'm passionate about.
Well, it's clear you're very talented, Izzy, right? I mean, I knew that from the get-go when you played your music on Clubhouse, right? But it's also, as an artist, right, it's brave to show your art, right? It's like you have to put it out there, and had you not done that, I wouldn't have known your music, and I wouldn't have said, oh, would you ever consider doing this, right? So I think it's being open as artists to these possibilities, right? To being able to make things and do things, and not kind of put in self-limiting ideas or letting the systemic barriers get in the way of our passions. And especially for young filmmakers, right? Because anybody young who's watching this, I encourage you to do these film competitions, because listen, the first time we did these film competitions, they weren't that good, right? It's like we needed to kind of get some practice. I call it going to the filmmaker gym, right? I've gotten to practice in different genres and different things that maybe I wasn't even interested in. Like, I'm not a big horror fan, and yet I was assigned horror once, and I was like, oh, this is super fun. I really like making horror. Or sci-fi, right? I wouldn't have considered myself a sci-fi fan, and then I started making some sci-fi. When the Disability Film Challenge required genre was sci-fi, that was a film that Scott and I worked on called I.O., and I loved that experience. I ended up winning Best Director that year in the competition from making a sci-fi film.
Yeah, that one turned out great.
And that's right, Will. I think that was the first one that
yeah, I shot that. Yeah, I shot that one.
You know, so it's finding, you know, if you were a passionate artist and a passionate filmmaker and you want to do these, I encourage you to do it without fear of failure, because the likelihood is it may not be very good. But here's the thing: if you don't try, you're never going to know. Which I think was the line in Connections, Scott, right? If you never try, you'll never know. Which was one of our films that we made in the 48. But
right, that was a required line, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you never try, you'll never know, you know, what it is. And here's the thing: again, the next time you're going to learn from the experiences of trying it, and maybe something wasn't as successful before. And every step, you know, every time I do one of these, I learn something new, or I come up. We come up with different ideas, and we want to try something, and we don't know if it's going to succeed or not until we get to the point where it's like we have to figure it out, and it makes you figure it out, right? It really does. And oftentimes you'll come up with ideas that you wouldn't have even thought of prior to doing it. So I encourage all the young filmmakers, all the artists out there, keep doing it. Definitely take a chance on yourself, and have some fun doing it. I always come out of these experiences like I have a blast. It's so much fun. And then you look at the finished product once you do get out, and I'm always impressed too, Izzy. Like you said, it's like it's an impressive thing to be able to come up with something really quickly and then really make it happen. But it would not be possible without all of you, and for everybody watching. And Will, I think you've put your at Barrett Will, that's your Instagram handle on there.
Yeah, just instead of saying it.
So you know, but follow everybody here. I'm at fhansen1. You know, on Instagram, you can find me here on Facebook through this page that we're live streaming on. And I just want to say thank you all for joining today and giving some of your time, you know, to talk more about this process. I'm truly grateful. Truly grateful. Yeah, I think I'll just kind of take us out here. If you guys want to just hold on for just a moment, I will, hold on, can I make myself, no, I made myself disappear. There we go. So I'm just going to say thank you all for joining another episode of Behind the Lens. I'm your host, Carl Hansen, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.